Okay, in this video, let's talk about has to, have to, and ought to fast speech, okay, natural speech. The first one, right, has to, but when people say it faster, right, the to becomes like the duh, like we talked about in the earlier video, like go to the library, go to the library, same thing. This becomes has to, duh, right? Not has to. So it's that D sound, has to, okay? And we can look at an example here, right? She has to leave now. She has to leave now, okay? But fast, she has to leave now. She has to, she has to, she has to, she has to leave now, okay? The next one, similar, right? Have to, okay? Same thing. The to becomes the to, right? And the have sounds like there's an F, have to, okay? So it really sounds like this. Have to, okay? Have to. Example. Okay. I have to go now, right? That's slow. But when you say it fast, I have to go now. I have to. I have to go now. I have to go now. Okay. Final example. Similar. Right? Ought to. Okay. But when you say it fast, the same things happen. Oughta. You get that duh sound again, right? Like this. Oughta. Okay? And our example, right? You ought to exercise more. You ought to exercise more. But when you say it fast, you ought to exercise more. You oughta. You oughta exercise more. You oughta, right? You oughta exercise more. Okay? Good luck and keep practicing.